Hello everyone, Naodline here with not something long awaited, but something I've long wanted to do, or go back to, making little beginner's guides. And today we're going over one of the most notoriously noob killer games, Last Days of the Third Age mod for Mount and Blade Warband. Now this guide is meant to be a beginner's guide to help people get up on their feet. It's not going into some of the major mechanics, how you can cheese the game, what you're meant to be doing after the war. I'm just going over everything you need to do to prepare for the war. After that, you're on your own because I haven't fought in many of the wars of TLD. I sometimes just give up as the war starts, just because it's so grindy and it feels so repetitive. I just enjoy playing before the war. But yeah, this is just going over all the main things, features, skills, traits, the map, your faction, friends, and so on and so on and so on. So first thing, and your first choice, do you play as good or do you play as evil? I'm going to be going over a good Gondor character, because I think Gondor has probably the most well-centric beginning campaign for any new player. If you want to play a really easy campaign, you could play as either the Elves of Lothlorien or Imladris. I wouldn't recommend the Elves of Mirkwood unless you want a bit of a challenge, because you can be a bit annoyed by fighting constantly in the forests. But yeah, then you get a choice of between man, elf, and dwarf. If you go as a dwarf, you're the dwarfs of Erebor. The elves, as I mentioned, Imladris, Lorien, and Mirkwood. As a human, you can be either of Gondor, Rohan, one of the Dunedain, which follow Imladris, the Beornings, or the Men of Dale. As I mentioned, I'm going to be playing as a man of Gondor, who has the largest roster of different factions to choose from. You've got the Blackroot Vale, Pelagia, Dol Amroth, Pinithgelon, Lamadon, Lassarnak, and Minas Tirith. I'd say if you want the easiest start, go with Dol Amroth, but again, I'm going to be going with Minas Tirith as a highborn and male because, yep. I'm just going to put a name, and now we can go over the character creation profile. So firstly, you have several options for leveling up. Your first things are your attributes, your strength, agility, intelligence, and charisma. Your strength is your overall bulkiness, your ability to kill and not be killed. Your agility is more about moving around, riding on horses, looting for some reason, and mastering your weapons, such as all your proficiencies here, and shields. Also just makes you a little bit faster. Intelligence is a trait best used for companions. We'll get into that later, but covers over all these different traits, such as from first aid, surgery, wound treatment, not inventory management, spotting, pathfinding, tactics. Sorry, again, not. Oh wait, yes, tactics, tracking, trainer, and looting. Oh no, looting's in agility, isn't it? Yes. So intelligence covers over basically everything that's on the campaign map. Everything on the map, or after a battle, or before a battle, comes from your intelligence. But charisma is something that is based centric around you, and I think is the most important trait. And I always go all 4 points into charisma. And going into some wildcraft, which means you're less likely to be seen while walking around, and you can hide better with a larger army. Prisoner management means you can hold more prisoners, which is better once the war's begun and you're not fighting as a good faction, because good factions don't capture many prisoners unless you're fighting only humans. Then leadership just means you can command more troops, they cost less, and they have more morale. And then bargainer is another party skill which you could build up with a companion, but again, more into that later. But it's also a charisma skill which makes everything cheaper. So if you want to be strong in combat, if you want to be fast moving and annoying to your opponent, if you want to be the kind of person that helps everyone out, or if you want to be the person that leads by example, then you want to go. And as I mentioned, charisma, biggest thing. You want to be building up your charisma as much as possible, because the more troops you can lead, and once the war begins, you will be ready. If you don't have enough points in leadership, at best you'll be able to run a army of around maybe 20, 30 troops. Unless you're working with orcs, but again, that's something we'll go over in a future guide. If you guys like this guide, you can leave a like and suggest which other guides I should do for other games. Lord of the Rings based, obviously, I'm not going to go over games I don't have or ever played. But finally, we have proficiencies, which is all the different weapons you can use. One-handed weapons, swords, axes, clubs. Two-handed weapons, two-handed swords, great axes, and clubs. Pole arms, anything like a spear or a lance, or a special weapon that you get with Lorien. Again, not going to go into much into that. Archery just shows, just makes it easier for you to aim. You improve your accuracy and speed at shooting with a bow, and makes you better with a bow, obviously. Crossbow is exactly the same, except that's only really valuable with the Dwarves of Erebor, because that's where you get crossbows from. And throwing, anything you can throw, like I said, javelins, darts, stones. I don't know why it says stones. But for your main character, you could go, if you want to go for a specialist build, you can go into all strength and iron flesh. You want to go for the berserker trait, something we'll be going over later, or maybe in a future video, because I think traits are a bit difficult to get, but I digress. If you want to be really good with a certain weapon, you can increase your limit with your proficiency. So currently we have 15 proficiency. You can go up to 420. So yeah, currently we are a noob with all of our weapons, but we can become really good. And obviously, if you want to be really fast on the field, based on agility, if you want to be riding a horse and annoy everyone with your mounted archery, then be my guest. I personally, I've done mounted archery a lot, and I don't hate it. I prefer to use bows you can't use on mounts though, because they are generally better, except for the special Lorien bow. But again, something about in the future. But yeah, you want to basically build up your wildcraft. Prisoner management, not so much, because again, you won't need to worry about prisoners. Unless you're playing as an evil faction, then you might want to build up some more prisoners. But again, that is better in the late game. And because we're a highborn, we're going to start with a one-handed weapon. There's no two-handed weapon, polearm, or bow. Then character creation, do whatever you want. You can choose your face, your beard, and your hairline. You can change how old you are. You can change your hair colour. You can change your face width. If you really care that much about going into all of this, I don't. It's just something you don't want to. It's just something that adds little details that you will never see because you'll be covering your face with a helmet. Yeah, it's kind of pointless to worry about your head. Don't let it get over your head. It's fun. So before we get into the beginning, let's go over one last thing, which is prudence for making it easy for your campaign. The war starts when you reach level 8. I recommend for new players and just anyone wanting to have a relaxed start and nothing challenging or really relaxed, level 12. Because that means you can get more out of your starting campaign before the war begins. You're more prepared. You have better weapons, more money, possibly more companions that are harder to get. Also, this here, town NPC is always accessible from menus. Unless you want to be running around Minas Tirith all day looking for the NPCs, please click this because you'll save yourself so much time. Permanent death for lords and companions, unless you're trying to do a certain trait, then again, don't bother because it's not worth it. Permanent death for player, that is you. Again, unless you want to make it really, really challenging, don't bother. It just makes it much harder than it has to be. Keep Brighter Nights on because otherwise you won't be able to see a thing. And if you want to get ambushed by bears, spiders, ents, etc., etc., just get rid of that. It's an annoying little thing that can get you killed without you knowing it and then lose all your equipment, which is stupid in my opinion. So let's get into the tutorial battle. I would recommend people installing the latest version of TLD instead of the version I have. I just prefer this version because it's more fun for me. Yeah, it's more fun for me. And basically this allows you to train by killing orcs. Obviously, left click to strike, right click to dodge, to block. If you have a shield, it's easier to block, obviously, because you've got a wider berth, and you can protect yourself from arrows. Yeah, just move around. You can press the backspace button to look at the map, but not on tutorial. And yeah, just go around, kill the orcs. Simple as that. And again, if you want to play if you want to make it easy on yourself, then play as a good faction. I really recommend it. The evil faction is incredibly difficult. You will be spammed at by scouts that will constantly be at your back. You will never get a break. And then you just get to cheer a bit, and then we can leave the battle. And then you'll say hello to, I believe the name of the character is also not always Torval, but is mostly Torval. Just says, thanks for helping me, my name is yada yada yada. We've seen some large orcs recently. I think war is afoot. War is coming. And I would advise you to go to Naodline, warn everyone about what you've seen today. To whoever is commanding there, it's an important matter, please make haste. And that's how you start becoming a character, becoming a main character. I'm a soldier in this coming war. Of course, I can see you're very capable. And then he talks to you about more. My guards here have seen you fight and will definitely tell their lord all about you. This is talking about the three biggest rewards, well, the three rewards you get from winning battles, doing quests, and yeah, that's about it. Winning battles, helping lords. You get resources, rank points, and influence. Resources are your it is your currency. It's what you always spend for food, weapons, armor, horses, or wargs, whatever riding mount you can find. I don't think you can spend them for anything else other than that. Oh yeah, you can also we'll go over transferring things later. But then also rank points. Rank points build up your rank with a certain faction. Because of every faction other than your starting faction, you are ranked 0. They do not know you. You are known only to your starting faction because, obviously, you are from that faction. Of course they know you. So you start at rank 1. And every other faction you start at rank 0. And you have to get at least 50 rank points. So we got 10. We need to get another 40 to reach rank 1 with Rohan. Which is the faction we just helped at the caravan. And then finally, influence is another resource which you can spend with lords to influence them to go to war. Well, not go to war, but to besiege a certain area, to follow you, to besiege an area. So for the faction leaders, you can spend them to get special weapons or items, which can make you either better, like things like better morale from a cooking pot. You could buy some special food like lembas from the elves. You can get a book, a ring, some really cool armor and weapons if you get to the very high echelons of rank. And yeah, that's what influence does. Also, you can get companions with it, but I'm not going to go over companions yet. That is for later. So before we start going over the lovely Minas Tirith, let us have a look at the map. So as you can see, you have a very large, well, as Gondor, which is why I recommend, you have the largest faction. You have lots of towns to go to, lots of lords to speak to do quests. You have lots of different camp leaders you can get quests from to give you rewards. And you have a massive roster of different units. So you don't have to feel like you have to get units from Rohan to get diversity, or even all the way up in Lorien to get diversity. You can just go for an entire Gondor-centric army. You can get units from Pin of Gelen, Blackroot Vale, the Lasarnak units, Pelagia, and I keep forgetting the name of the region. I'll remember it I remember it at the most unopportune time. And obviously the Anorian troops from Minas Tirith, and even the Rangers of Henethanoon, which is a special region here, which can only be seen when you approach it, which I think is quite cool. I wish they had more regions like that, like maybe even Calas Galathon or Keren Amroth, I don't know. But it would be, but it does make sense to have Hen of the Noon as hidden. And then obviously we have our enemies. We have the Corsairs in their one settlement on the coast of Belfalas, past the Isle of Tolfalas. And then we have the Haradrim camp making their way up past the rivers to from Harandor and Harad. So they made their land in the most southern area of the Ithilien region. Then obviously we have Mordor right on our border. Not much to start with, but they do get bigger, trust me. When the war begins, evil factions do expand a bit. Then we have Khand, and then we have Rohan to our side with their 7 regions, which often get blown up very quickly. So if you're not playing as Rohan, try to protect Rohan and Gondor. They are the 2 easiest factions to get blown up. No joke. Other than maybe the... No. It's Gondor and Rohan. You can stay out of the war for the entire game, and Gondor and Rohan will always die first. And then we have obviously the Dunlendings, who have come over from the their lands and made their nest in the fords of Isen. And then there's Isengard with what many people may not know of, the Hand of Saruman, which is a very grotesque hand made of the flesh of the men of Rohan that were butchered, I believe. And that just points to Isengard. I think it's for the Uruks to know where to go. Then we've also got the Forest of Fangun, which lies dormant, not an actual faction. But you can fight Ents if you piss them off enough. And you do a certain quest for Saruman. But again, that's something in the future. We have Dol Guldur in the very southern regions of Mirkwood, once known as the gracious Amon Lank. We have the Vale of Anduin taking residence in the eastern land from the Anduin, as goblins from Gundabad and Goblin Town have taken the west, you could say. Then further north we reach the land of the Elven King's Halls, which is what it should be called, because that's what it was originally called, because Thranduil wasn't named during Tolkien's first writings of Mirkwood, which is quite interesting. Then we have the main Rhûn camp coming all the way from Rhûn past Dorwinion and straight onto the near the River Running. I believe this is the this is the River Running, and then that's just I don't even know what that is. It's probably just even more of the River Running. Whatever. Then we have Dale and Escaloth. They don't have anything else other than that. They've just been pushed back to their 2 key centres, where they're slowly building up from the desolation of Smaug. We have Erebor and the Iron Hills Quarry, up in the near where in Divide and Conquer, where you would find bollocks. I've forgotten what it's called. It'll come back to me again at the most opportune time. And here's around Dane's Halls, and then there's that other region that has the dragon skeleton in it, which is really cool. And obviously we have Gundabad in the very northern reaches of the Misty Mountains. We have Goblin Town, down. And then even further down, we have the gates to Moria, with a troll cave, which has a very fun interaction thing from that was added in by the mod developers. Then we have the Rivendell Camp, where the elves of Rivendell have come up through the High Pass, somehow just escaping notice of everyone through Redhorn, where the Fellowship failed, to meet up with the elves of Lothlorien, near the not the Plains of Victory. That would be here. I keep forget. Oh, this is the Limelit Fields, which is completely abandoned. Which I think the Rivendell Camp should be put somewhere around here, maybe. I don't know. It doesn't really matter. But yeah, that's the whole map. Plenty of different factions to choose from. Lots of variation, and this is one fun game. Okay, back to the game. Let us go into Minas Tirith, and if we didn't have the NPC thing ticked, we wouldn't be able to view the smithy, the stables, or the guild master. We would have approached the city, climb up to the top level. We wouldn't be able to go into the citadel. We'd have to climb to the top level, which we're gonna do just for a bit of cinematic nostalgia. Just gonna walk up The white tree still withering as Aragorn has yet to return as king. Then we have the long stretch where Denethor jumps off after being set aflame. Say hello to the gods of the Fountain Cult, which you can actually recruit if you upgrade your Men of Gondor enough, which I think is really cool. Let's talk to the spearman. Door to the castle. Let's go say hello to our Lord and Steward Denethor. The throne of the king laying absent, but glowing gloriously. Kneel to our lord. We start our first conversation. He says, yep, we're a soldier of Gondor. If we reach level 10, he'll let us access a chest, which is where we can store some of our more important gear we don't want to lose. And then we come to the first thing, and probably the only thing you will be doing for the first 12 levels of the game. Do you have any tasks for me? I want you to send a letter to Elfhelm, who should be currently at the Eastfold. You say, yep, I'll send the letter. And then you go off and send the letter. But you can also talk to other lords and get other quests. In the very beginning, there's 3 quests you can get. Scout an enemy region, kill a lawless villain, and defeat and deliver a letter to an ally. And in this case, we're delivering a letter. If you speak to Captain General Boromir, if he says no, just keep asking. It's a little glitch in the game. Yep, we have reports that enemy hosts are gathering in Minas Morgul. I will scout there for you, my Captain General. And yep, all the quests are in the quest log. Steward Denethor asks you to take a message to Elfhelm. He should be in Eastfold. You click the name Elfhelm, you know what he looks like. You can look through all of these. You can see Tariel, Theodred, Orfang, Olwaf of the Balkoth, Whip, Brolkushk, Whip Grimsob, and so on and so on and so on. And that tells you where everyone is. And obviously it also tells you how many days it takes. And next, the other reason why I decided for Minas Tirith is because we also have a look at our first companion. And that is Cyrodiil. But we'll talk a bit more about Cyrodiil later. So once you complete this quest, you will get resources depending on who you talk to complete the quest. So for the Elfhelm quest, when we talk to Elfhelm, he'll give us resources as a thank you for delivering the letter. But we will get rank points and influence with Gondor because that's who the quest was initiated from. Which is something I only figured out a few days ago, to my surprise. And then for Scout Enemy Town, because we're going to Minas Morgul, that's not where the quest ends. We then need to go back to Boromir and tell him everything we know. So we get money from Boromir, we get rank points, and then we get influence from Boromir for completing his quest. And that's the same for all these quests. You'll keep going back and forth, back and forth. You'll most likely be delivering messages for the entire campaign because most other quests take a while, a week or two to cycle back into the pool of quests. You will always be asked to deliver messages, and any quest you refuse, such as dispatching scouts, training units, they will keep coming back over and over and over again until you just say yes to one of them. I don't know why. Actually, I do know why. It's because the game wants you to empty the pool, so then the pool fills up again with new quests. And obviously, the more quests you do, the more money you get, the more rank points you get, the better you becomes with standings of certain factions. You level up more because you get experience. And the more levels up you get, the more quests you get. You'll eventually be asked to kill trolls. As I said, to dispatch some scouts. You'll be asked to kill some enemy warbands. You'll be asked to release some prisoners from our enemies. To capture some prisoners for our lord. And so on and so on and so on. Even capture an enemy commander and give him over to our lord to interrogate, so that will weaken their faction strength dramatically and make us stronger. But I'll go into faction strength in a different video because that only affects anything when the war begins. And then finally, we can also get quests from our guild master. And how can I serve our cause? The garrison commander here is looking for a resourceful warrior to take a group of refugees to Edoras. So such a quest like that for refugees, or delivering supplies, give food, give iron. All those quests are resource-centric quests. You won't get many rank points or influence because you're helping the guild master. He's the one that dispatches coin. He's basically Game of Thrones master of coin, if that makes sense to half the people watching. You're basically, your lords give you the most rank and influence because you're helping them and they lead the armies. The guild masters don't. They just dispatch money-making quests, like little errands. You're basically an errand boy, and certain errands you get more money from them. Certain errands you get more out of them, such as rank points and influence, but they're more repetitive. These quests are a bit back and forth of what you get. Sometimes it's kill orcs, sometimes it's delivering refugees. It is always random. I believe there's also a pool for it, and again, if you decline one quest, it will keep coming back to the front of the pool. Which is why I always get the food quests, because I always said no to them because I didn't want to give my food away. And as you can see, you earn 265 resource points of Gondor for doing this. Now, the last thing to talk about with the free rewards is, as I mentioned, we got rank points, resources, and influence when we won that battle for Rohan. Every faction has different resources, different rank points, and different influence, like I've already mentioned with the ranks. But yeah, you can't transfer your rank and influence because that's not how it works. You can't It's kind of the opposite of the intrigue in court ability you get as the High Elves in Total Warhammer. You can't spread news of your great deeds to others if they don't know you. But you can give them resources every once in a while once the war begins. But again, I'll be going more into that in a different video. So if I was to accept that, it would also be in my quest log. It'll tell you who it is for, and so on and so on and so on. And once you get enough rank points and influence, as I mentioned already, you can hire companions. Curdle is one of the companions you can get instantly. Curdle and Thaniel and the orc from Mordor in the orc encampment to the north of the Morannon are all companions you can instantly recruit if you start as that playing faction, because you'll have one influence and you don't need rank points for them. You just need that one influence. So let's say hello to Curdle. We'll have a little bit of a conversation, talk about some of his things. He is a levyman, he's a man of war, same as us. In fact, no, exactly the same as us. He's starting off. He's a low tier soldier, and he's on his way to start making a name for himself, which he'll do with us. Yeah, don't worry, I'll talk with your sergeant. Cost 1 influence, and there we go. He has now joined our party, and you can see your party by pressing P. And you can also see all the traits. So for us, we have Bargainer and Wildcraft. And obviously it's 2 and 2. I'm not sure what the +1 is about. I'll probably go into more of that later. But obviously Curdle, his traits, if we talk to him, we can only talk to him from outside the settlements. Let's go talk to him and we can have a look at his traits. As you can see, he has 1 first aid. Let's have a look at your skills. As you can see, he is a very blank slate. You can mold him whatever way you want. I recommend for Curdle, have him start off as a meat shield for you, because you're more likely to get kills than a AI. So build up Iron Flash, but eventually build up Trainer, because mainly just for the fact you have someone that's training up your troops, but also because of his he has a little bit of a storyline with another companion of Gondor, which we will say hello to now. I'm just going to ignore the refugees. I don't care. Just going to quickly show that. Oh, yeah, no, you can't always get a companion straight away like Curdle. And Yep, wait for it. There. If I was playing a campaign, I could have easily killed those 11 orcs. Remember, say hello to Henethanoon and the other companion of Gondor, which is why, again, Gondor is an amazing starting faction to play as, Mablung. So we'd say hello from him. How far the ranges of the south? Yada 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 yada. How come you why don't you join us? It seems that you're not esteemed enough by my people. You're a soldier of Gondor. You need to be at least a knight of Gondor, which means we need to be at least rank 3, which requires another 130 rank points. Let's speak again when that is accomplished, and it costs about 15 influence. And that basically goes around for every faction. There's a companion you can get from the Harad Camp, from Corsair Camp, Minas Tirith, Henethanoon, Minas Morgul, the Orc Patrol Camp, from Edoras, from the Hornburg, from Isengard, from the Hunting Camp, from the Gates of Moria, from Calas Galathon, from the Woodsman Village, from Frendel's Halls, Erebor, and Dale, and the main Rune Camp. As I said, the easiest ones to get are from Minas Tirith, Frendel's Halls, and if you're evil, the Patrol Camp. I believe in the non-TLD Overhaul, which is what I'm playing, there's a companion in Dol Guldur which allows you to get werewolves. Cool thing. Don't know if it still exists, but yeah. Erebor, you need at least 1 rank. So if you start as Erebor, you only need like 8 influence to get him, and that's easy to do. Dale, you don't need any rank, but you need 3 influence. Main Rune Camp, you need, I think, rank 2 or rank 1, but still you need a good bit of influence for them. I don't recommend getting the Main Rune Camp guy. He's useless. He's basically like Curdil, but slightly more leveled up, so you can't mold him as much. Woodsman Village has a very powerful bear-tamed Beorning, who actually has a bear with him. Calas Galathon has the most difficult lord to get, or companion to get, because it's Glorfindel, and he is... You can't actually change his equipment. He refuses to let you touch his equipment, while someone like Curdil... Here, I want to touch you up. That sounded dirty, but yeah. We can change his equipment, and I want your shield. I want your sword. It's slightly better than mine. Yeah, basically stuff like that. You can't do that with Glorfindel. And I believe you can also cannot do that with the strongest evil companion from Harad. Then we have one from the Corsair Camp, which is exactly the same as the main Rune Camp, but a lot easier to is better to get because, well, yeah, he's easier to get. Minas Morgul, you can get Gorbag. Or Patrol Camp again, you get another Curdil, just a character you can mould. Isengard, you get a Wild Rider. Orc, obviously. And the Gates of Moria, you get a... who says he's a healer, but again is another blank slate. And the Orcs of Gundabad don't have a companion, so they're kind of, yeah, forgotten about. But yeah, that is most of the key points I wanted to go over. Start building up charisma. Start becoming a powerful leader. You don't need too many points into your top skills, because once you get good enough at the game, you won't need to worry about getting hit, because you'll normally be at the back shooting enemies from behind or charging in, maybe with a bit of Iron Flesh in the later game because you want to be tougher, but you'll have massive layers of armor if you don't want to go for like a light armor build. You'll be on a horse, so you've got more protection like that. You'll be very fast and hard to hit. You could be, as I said, an archer with just infinite arrows if you stick near the chest. But again, that's a bit of a cheat. I'm not going to go over that. That's something I will talk about in a different video. Build up your wildcraft if you want, is my recommendation. You can get a larger army that way and still remain hidden. And also the party speed is improved while in wooded terrain, apparently. It's kind of cool if you're a wood elf. Prisoner management. If you're an evil faction, you want more of this because you can... Obviously, there's more humans to capture. You can also capture dwarves. The two... you can't capture orcs or elves. Orcs and orcs are not good prisoners. They instantly they would rather kill each other, I guess. And elves, I think, are exactly the same. They would fight to the death. They wouldn't really run away. And if they did run away, they wouldn't allow themselves to get captured. I guess. I don't really understand it. I mean, it would be fun if you could capture them. But again, I digress. Leadership. Obviously, this means you can command more troops. They're cheaper, and they won't run. And then finally, Bargainer isn't important. As I said, you could put it on a companion if you want to build up their charisma, which is kind of pointless. It's the most pointless ability, really, because you can make buttloads of money without needing to make things cheaper. But if you want to go for like a super stingy build, then yeah, just be a massive bargainer, because it can be fun. And obviously, your proficiencies will always go up no matter what you do, because as long as you're striking with a certain weapon, you're hitting things, you're killing things, you get proficiency, you'll become better, you become stronger, faster, better. And then you just keep doing that over and over and over again. You kill orcs, you get experience, you get levels, you become stronger, you can lead an army. The army can kill even larger armies of orcs, or even humans, or whatever. Then you get even more experience, more money, so you can get new armor to make yourself stronger. You level up even more, and then you're ready for the war. And yeah, that is basically everything you need to know before the war. Just build up your strength as much as you can, get reputation, get your companions leveled up, and specializing in certain traits. As I mentioned, characters like Curdil is a blank slate. Do whatever you want with him. But some characters, such as Gimli up in Erebor, it's better to make him a full-on tank killer, because he is so stubbornly tough to kill. And not just because he's short, because he is really good. The Dale companion, Faniel, I recommend obviously make her a healer, because she starts off with really good healing traits. And she's not the best fighter. Louisvana from Thranduil's Halls, make her your campaign movement buddy. Just go all into tracking and pathfinding and spotting. Just make her the ultimate scout. Because some companions you don't actually want in battle. Some companions you want to keep behind, like I mentioned with Faniel. She's the healer. You don't want your healer at the front. So you keep them at the back, and only at the very end would you have them fight. But unless you want to get them leveled up, in which case buy them just a tank of armor, and then just have them have a bow and just shoot from very far away. They will never get killed, and they will do amazing. Anyway, I'm getting a bit of a runny nose, and I've got to get the washing in. Yep, getting the washing in at 9:15 in the evening. Why not? Other things such as food, weapons, armor, horses, unit types, upkeep costs. I kind of went over with companions, not companions, with your command. And obviously there's troop trees, which I will go over in a different video, because they're so extensive. I mean, look at Mordor, like I mentioned. This is just the main tree of Gondor for the Anorian units. Then you have your Gondor Noblemen, which is basically what I am, which is your cavalry troops, your Philian Rangers, your Sarnak Axemen, Pelagia units, Lamadon, that's it, Lamadon troops. Which can be either big, strong foot units or very strong mounted units. Pinnefgelen and the Black Root Vale are basically your cheapest tier, because they only go up to tier 3 with archers or warriors. And obviously Dol Amroth is your best option for the knights, in my opinion. Gondor gets exactly the same, basically, if you look at the traits and stats. But I do prefer Swan Knights just because it's thematic. It's thematic from a DAC perspective, because Dol Amroth has always been the cavalry faction and is always going to be is always going to have the stronger cavalry. Oh god, I've got a really runny nose. I should really be calling it a day now. So if you guys have enjoyed this, then please leave a like. Comment if you want to see more videos like this on, for example, what to do once the war begins on a certain faction, because I could talk more into Gondor as a whole and how you should play them. I could talk about Rohan, Lothlorien, Dale, anyone, absolutely any faction. And I'll probably do a evil faction overhaul, evil faction overview. I keep saying overhaul, overview, because they are so much more difficult. As a beginning player, play as good. Please, I implore you, Do not make this harder on yourself than it needs to be. Just play as a good faction. Get to the point where you start the war, and then decide whether or not you want to be a good or evil faction. Because, believe me, the war is exactly the same on both sides, in my opinion. Sometimes it's easier for the good factions because they're all built up together. Sometimes it's easier for the evil faction because they're all built up together. So I hope you've all enjoyed. I just keep saying that so many times. I've got to stop doing that. And I will see you all next time. For the future, if anyone's still watching, I do plan to actually start a Mount and Blade campaign. I still haven't decided if I want to do it without commentary or not. I really do just want to get a campaign done as in a Mount and Blade mod, whichever TLD mod I choose. But I also want to do Divide and Conquer and so on and so on and so on. There's so much I want to do. And so little time to do it in. But again, if you want to see a certain game, leave a comment down below. I've already mentioned that in the past. Just leave comments. I could bring up make straw polls, but in the past they don't really do too well. So, yeah, I'm done. Ta-ta for now. I've got to get some washing in.